Hello everybody, I welcome you to our SAFE journey, how we transformed Allianz Global Corporate and Specialty, or in short AGCS, into a data-driven company. My name is Ben Ottemann, I'm a Program Director and SPC.
And my name is Lisandro Lopes, a CICD Architect and Test Strategy Lead at AGCS. It's great to be here with you today.
Today we would like to show you how applying the SAFE framework really helped us to improve our delivery capabilities, how we introduce a continuous delivery pipeline, and how we are getting at least closer to achieving business agility. Before we start with this journey, let me quickly introduce AGCS and the problem we wanted to solve to you. AGCS is a subsidiary of the Allianz Group. We are ensuring the corporate clients of Allianz. These customers are facing the most complex and largest risk to insure. The claims they are normally having span across multiple areas, for example, fire, business interruptions, or liability. Some of those claims you may have heard from the news, for example, the dam collapse in Brazil, the bridge collapse in Italy, wildfires, net cuts, we have the explosion in Beirut, or we have plane crashes. Our customers are constantly changing their business. They're evolving their business. They're picking up new segments, and we also have new market entries coming. So the market of our corporate customers is transforming at very, very high speed. And while we have a pretty good understanding of the risks of the past, be it fire, for example, business interruption or liability, we are constantly seeing new risks coming in. As you can see on that slide, Allianz is conducting a risk survey every year with our large clients, and we ask them, what are the biggest risks you're facing? What are the biggest perils you're seeing? Number one, for the first time ever, is cyber this year. We also see other new risks coming in. For example, climate change, macroeconomic developments, or impact on the brand value. And while we, as AGCS, have a pretty good understanding of the past, we now need to also change. We are a 150-year-old company. We are insuring these clients for 150 years. In our systems, you can still find policies which are 50, 60, 70 years old. But what we do not have really is data of the future, data of cyber incidents, data of these macroeconomic developments. So we need to look at internal data. Unfortunately, the data is very often dispersed via multiple systems. It's on paper, or even worse, it's only in the head of our employees. And we need to enrich the data with external data. Prediction becomes essential for us. Only if we are able to predict the future risks of our clients, we are able to offer them the insurance they need. We are able to consult them, because a very important part of our business is really consult our business and tell them what risk they're actually facing. And we are also able to protect ourselves, that we offer services AGCS can make a profit of. As I said, our data is not harmonized. It's dispersed. Our system landscapes are old. It's outdated. We have many components in our systems which are already or which are about to become toxic. And our system landscape is very complex. Any change, for example, if you want to enter a new market segment, if we want to offer a new service to our clients, it's very cumbersome for us to implement such a change. It takes us months and months and months and millions of dollars. So for us, it was important to, like our clients, change to adapt to this new way. In 2015, we therefore kicked off one of the largest transformation initiatives in AGCS we have ever seen. And we had 4 main objectives when we kicked off. On the slide, you see a 5th objective. I come to that one a little bit later. Our main objectives at the beginning were we wanted to create a single point of truth, a true global data warehouse. Data, one-stop shop for data, truly harmonized data. We wanted to lay the foundation for enabling analytical capabilities. Prediction is essential, looking into the future. While we transform, we have to ensure that we are able to provide management reporting and regulatory reporting all the time. As you can imagine, as an insurance company, we are operating in a highly regulated market. And last but not least, we wanted to establish and implement very automated processes. Business, especially finance, is losing months and months, hours and hours during closing and gathering data for our reporting. We wanted to make sure that we can use the value these guys could add to really tasks that would benefit our customers and our employees. The fifth objective you see on the slide did come in actually only 2017. Why? We reached the typical tipping point situation. We were not making the progress we wanted to make, and we had to decide whether we want to declare failure or whether we wanted to change the way how we work. We then discussed whether it would make sense for us to adopt agile ways of working. And there were lots of doubts at the beginning because people were doubting whether a back office project would fit together with agile ways of working. Data accuracy was our number one objectives. We had to be able to close the books at all times. But in 2017 then, Q3 2017 roughly, we decided we'd go the step and we adopt agile ways of working. We partnered with Accenture, on the one hand, to deliver actually the solution. On the other hand, they provided us with the technical know-how to implement the SAFe framework. We had many, many discussions with business executives, with business stakeholders. We did trainings, we did executive workshops. One of the things we almost always heard, and I think everybody has heard that before, is, oh, you're adopting Agile, great. Now you're faster and you're cheaper. Let's go for it. One of the very first and most important things then when we adopted the same framework is we wanted to organize around value. So the newly added 10th principle, organize around value, was a key thing for us all the time. We spent a lot of time around in the process of value stream mapping. Here on the slide, you can see one of the examples or our high-level process. We did even split it up into two parts because we very soon saw that it will be too large to be delivered by one chain only. End of 2017, then we finally kicked off. We had one train running with 3 Scrum teams. From the very first moment, we tried to stick as close as possible to the recommendation from the SAFe framework, although in some cases we had to adapt. One very simple but funny one almost was, one of our PIs has actually 6 sprints. Why? The PI planning would have been exactly during the Oktoberfest here in Munich, and there was no way that I would be able to convince our board to have a on-site PI planning with 100 to 150 people during the Oktoberfest. So we decided to have one PI with 6 sprints. It works perfectly well for us. Where do we stand currently and how we want to progress? Overall, the adaptation of the SAFe framework was a full success. So the company wants to move forward. After the first train, we launched the second one 3 PIs later, taking care then of the other part of the value stream you have seen before. And another 1.5 years later, we launched the next trains. They are now taking care of completely different parts of our business, for example, underwriting or claims. On the slide here, you can see that we currently have mapped 14 major value streams. We have 6 agile release trains running. We are actually launching, while we speak, another one. And we will be launching more that you can really then digest all the value streams we have mapped with agile release trains. We have trained now roughly around 600 people via executive workshops, leading safer teams, DevOps training. We have Scrum Master, Product Owner, Product Manager, RTE training. We do all of that now internally as we have established a LACE team, and we have also our internal SPCs. What we did from the very first moment, and for us it was a good thing when COVID hit, we practiced a distributed PI planning. Allianz Global Corporate is global. Our people are sitting distributed around the world. And while we focus, most of the times we have teams sitting in Europe, Asia, and the US. And while we try to bring them together in one location as much as possible, we, of course, had to deal with distributed PI planning. So COVID was also had an impact on us, but it was not that big of a deal going forward. What were for us now the key differentiators, how we work now, how we adapted SAFe compared to how we worked before? From the very first moment, we tried to stick as close as possible to the SAFe recommendations. We were criticized very often for that because people still felt that we are too slow, we are not delivering as we were supposed to deliver. We were still spending a lot of money. So there was a lot of criticism, but we really tried to stick. And for us, it was clear that we always wanted to focus on working software. Everything has to be integrated. We are demoing every 2 weeks during the sprint meetings or sprint reviews. We demo every 10 weeks during the PI sessions. Everything has to be integrated. If it's not integrated, we don't demo. We are breaking down the demand very restrictively. So we have the epics, we have the features, and we have the stories. And every epic has to have a business epic owner. Yes, we have also the architectural epics or the enablers, but every business epic has to have a business owner. Without that, we would not be accepting any work. And that also is clear. We want to have 100% business commitment. One of the biggest achievements we have product owners, product managers who are with us now for almost 2 years, almost 3 years, 100% committed to the chain. And I think that is also a huge enablement where we see the connect between business and the IT delivery. We are very clear with the roles we have. We always focus on the what, on the how, and on the orchestration. All 3 roles are working together, and our PM, our RTE, and our system architect were even recognized lately for their collaborative leadership within AGCS. We focus on cross-functional teams. Everybody who's needed in the Scrum team, in the train, is part of the train. Not everybody 100%, but people take part in the PI planning, and people are part of the Scrum teams and commit to the deliverables of the Scrum teams. And we were very rigid in setting up a CICD approach and following the DevOps principles.
Thanks, Bernd, for the great introduction on Agile. So Agile has set the landscape for our journey, indeed, but there were other cornerstones that enabled us to materialize our vision. And one of them is CICD, also known as continuous integration, continuous deployment. It has enabled us to move away from major releases and complex and manual processes into a feature delivery machine. The toolchain and automated processes allows us to have effective code branching and versioning, continuous testing and automated reconciliation, scheduled automated deployments to higher environments, and automatic generation of documentation for audit compliance, and allows us to focus on what we need to focus on software delivery, and to develop on cadence, release on demand. Soon we realized that a toolchain is not sufficient. We needed a culture change, we needed a mindset change. And DevOps enabled that shift, to have the design, build, test, run, fix in one team's hands. And that's supported by having one backlog. So what we had in the past for a project requirement and an enhancement, an incident, a hotfix, a defect, everything now has to flow into the same backlog where the product owner and the train can then prioritize accordingly. And more important than that, bringing people together, real culture change, so the responsibility for the delivery and the run of the software lies within the train. And this has really enabled our delivery and the feedback cycles to be a lot shorter. This has also enabled us to drop the old software quality gates of the past, where testing sign-offs and business sign-offs were required due to the lack of transparency and feedback cycles, which in the end slowed down our delivery. And now that I briefly covered a bit on what we achieved with CICD, you can see in this slide the actual tool chain that supported that. So you can see Jenkins in the middle as an orchestrator. All tools are heavily integrated. And along with these tools that enable CI/CD, I can maybe stand out the test automation and automated financial reconciliation tool, Tricentis Tosca, the automated system monitoring with Splunk, and the change and release management automation, where Jenkins and ServiceNow, our change and release management tool, and ALM Octane are part of that. Now, So you can really see from this that automation is really at the core of what we do, and it plays a fundamental role in our delivery pipeline. And we introduce automation in different areas in order to facilitate or eliminate manual and consuming tasks. For example, on requirement and backlog management, where as part of the delivery, when we deploy to production, Octane will show exactly what backlog items were part of the change request from ServiceNow. On the dependency management, when a team decides to raise a change request to deploy an application component change to production, there is an automated check that will verify if the introduced changes have dependencies with other application components. This prevents deployment issues and potential downtime to our customer. On the deployment management side, here to stand out that we build a code artifact once, and we deploy that same code artifact all the way to production in a fully automated process, where if tests fail, this change is not available to be deployed to the next environment. On the change and release side, in order to fulfill regulatory and audit requirements, we automatically derive the documentation required to deploy a change, and we document that in ServiceNow, again in a fully automated process. The ability that SAFe has given us to slice down changes into regular, frequent, low-risk pieces allowed us to have pre-approved change requests in ServiceNow without the need of a manual review and approval process for such changes. So to summarize, the SAFe framework gave us the opportunity to centralize and put up for prioritization requirements not only coming from business, but also requirements that can, for example, reduce time to market and increase quality. And that includes CICD or any platform upgrade that might get prioritized. Continuous exploration and thrive for continuous improvement introduced room for opportunities in really any area, which turned out to be a real game changer for us. And today, we continue to do just that, continuously explore and improve.
And as we now had a running software, we also wanted to continuously improve, of course. So we introduced 3 pillars of measures. The one pillar, most of you know, I guess. We call them the key agility metrics. They are, we of course looked at the Accelerate book, so we're looking at delivery lead time, deployment frequency, mean time to restore, and fail percentage. We do that now for the 2 trains we have discussed during the session, but we also have started to introduce that to measure for the new trains. The numbers we see are quite good already, but they differ, of course, from train to train. And we now try to figure out where do we stand, how can we improve, what do we need to do. The situation the trains are in is different when it comes to implementing DevOps and being able to really automate deployments. The second pillar, equally important for us, is we measure how the business outcome, how actually is business taking up the new solution we provided them. It can be just how often they use the system, how often they use to run reports, but we also try to measure whether the expected benefit is being realized. So are they really able to reduce runtimes? Are they able to create efficiency? Are they able to reduce rework load and workarounds? And the third pillar is for us like a bucket where we collect other delivery measures. Here we especially look at the health of the trains. We also make it comparable, how they follow the Agile principles. We use health radars. So going through a number of different measures and really trying to establish business agility across the company. As I said, we are on a good track, promising results already, but we need to work a bit more and, of course, more mature. And the more trains we are launching, I think the better the feedback will be.
Thanks, Bernd. Now time for some statistics on the software delivery side. If we talk about lead time, from 6 to 8 months for a significant process change in the past, we can do it now within 1 PI. That's a reduction of more than 50% in the lead time. On the test automation, which is one of the key players that enable us to remove manual sign-offs and come up with definitions of done and acceptance criteria that are validated with automation, we saw a natural increase up to 70%. On business processes, we could see, for example, time reductions of 70% for financial consolidation and around 90% for activities like foreign currency reevaluation. And on the more technical side, we had the opportunity to have storage savings of around 3 terabytes. On the deployment frequency, considering our business nature that Bernd explained, we don't aim to have many releases per minute like Amazon or Google. There is no demand for that. But still, SAFe enabled us to move away from major releases with major risks on a cadence of 4 times a year to smaller, low-risk deployments to production. And we now have around 30 deployments a month. That's 100 times faster to bring business value. On cycle times, we are now able to release to our customer on average every 2 sprints on enhancements, which is a small change. For more significant changes, we brought down the cycle time from more than 1 year to 1 PI.
And while we expected the improvements on the software delivery, we were able also to achieve benefits on business side. So on the one hand, we are significantly improving our architectural runway. We are reducing technical debt. We are able with that to save processing time, really create efficiency on the business side. We have everything integrated. Enhancements, BAU, change, all is in one backlog. Business knows who they have to approach, who they have to contact in case anything comes up. We have a much better dependency management. As we have multiple trains running in parallel now, we are applying the SAFe framework, we have cross-collaboration, we're talking about features, we are using backlogs of the other trains, we are jointly prioritizing, so we have a very close interaction between the different trains. We are able to scale. So we all know that despite having a nice backlog, despite applying pull instead of push, you will always face a situation where a very urgent thing comes up, you have to digest. And with the stable trains, with the trains running, with people knowing each other, it was very easy for us to pick up additional topics over the time. Yes, it feeds into the capacity the trains have, but this is over time really leveling out. And for me, most important, actually, we have a huge boost to team morale. Where before people were frustrated, now people are really enjoying the agile ways of working. Not everybody has reached that level, not everybody is there yet, but we are constantly working on bringing everybody really on board. On the next slide, you see a couple of sites from our sponsors. So for example, our CIO was impressed with our first major release. Actually, it was happening during the PI planning, and when we told him we have released, he was completely astonished. That was the smoothest release he has ever seen in his whole career. Business was feeding back that, yes, it was difficult for them at the beginning to adapt the new roles, but now they like the way how they are getting involved, how they jointly prioritize epics, how they jointly discuss what the train needs to pick up next. So it's a great success, and that is also reflected that we as a whole company want to move toward now product-focused setup, that we as a whole company want to apply the SAFe framework, and that we as a whole company want to try to achieve business agility. What were the key achievements? Why did it work out for us? I believe personally we made it right the first time. We took 3 months to get ready. We trained everybody. We literally stopped the old initiative, the old project. If our board would have known that, we didn't tell anyone that we literally stopped. We were still paying the externs because they were part of the new train. We stopped it. If they would have known, I think they would have killed us, but it was really worth the money because the moment we started, we were faster, we suddenly were delivering. We convinced business to engage, and then the first PI planning, we actually failed. Why? Luckily, we had a try run planned. We had safer teams and the try run PI together, and when we did the real PI planning, this was a full success. And then people came, see, it was successful, and people wanted to learn and wanted to adapt it also on their projects. So was really everything right the first time? No, of course not. We are still learning. We still have ways where we can improve, but I believe we are on a very, very, very good track to finally get closer to achieving real business agility within AGCS.